Welcome everyone to our second Microsoft webinar. We did a webinar in the summer around Business Premium and Copilot, which went down very well. So we wanted to do another one, this time focused around mobile device management with Intune. So again, thank you for joining. Firstly, I'm Ben. By the way, if you haven't met me before, I'm the sales team leader at Freestyle TS. We're an IT managed services provider based in Hampshire, and we provide IT support, cloud, procurement, engineering, consultancy, just all manner of IT managed services to businesses across the UK and further abroad in some cases. We wanted to do a webinar about Intune because we've seen a big uptake or increase in interest from our customers about it. You know, many businesses are operating a hybrid workforce. So the ability to manage devices remotely is essential for many businesses. And Intune provides you with the tools to do that. It makes sense as well because many businesses are already using Microsoft licensing. So if you're on Business Premium, you're ready to go, as Ed will explain later. But it's really not a big investment to give you that ability to then branch out and manage devices remotely. There are lots of other things included with Microsoft Business Premium, in addition to Intune, that are very cost effective. If you look at sort of getting the licenses separately, it's quite a big saving, to be honest, rather than buying the license separately to package it all up in one solution, which is Business Premium. But yeah, this webinar will mostly be focused around Intune. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Ed, who is the clever guy that knows the stuff, and I'll be quiet.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ben, and thank you all very much for giving up a little bit of your time today to come and have a talk with us all about Microsoft Intune. So in the time that we've got together today, this is what we're going to be running through in terms of the current state of play, device management, identity and access, Intune and Endpoint Manager, and some of the additional benefits of Intune as well. It's not just all about device management. There are some other cool things that having Intune would allow you to do within your organization. And of course, Ben mentioned, the value of Business Premium, the fact that this is a product that contains not just Intune, but then a lot of the security products that you would need as a modern organization to keep yourself secure and compliant. So this is what we're going to go through today in this session. So let's start off with the current state of play, and Ben kind of already touched on this as well, because the world has changed, a huge amount, since 2020. We have seen massive amounts of change, in the way that we live our lives, the way that work is done, the way that we communicate and collaborate. For a majority of us, this is now a hybrid world that we live in, where many of us, like I said on this call, probably have the opportunity to work from any device and any location. Now, whilst many of us probably enjoy the flexibility that this new modern world has brought us, it has brought about some significant challenges for organizations such as yours in terms of ensuring that, not only people can be able to stay productive and collaborative when they're working remotely, but then also remaining secure. One of the things that we also saw change a huge amount was the increase in BYOD, or bring your own device. Effectively, people using their own devices for work purposes. Now, we've seen this more often than not, especially with mobile devices. Some of you on this call might have a company mobile phone that was issued to you by the business, and some of you might have a mobile phone, your own mobile phone, that you use for work purposes. Now, I've seen that some organizations out there would let people bring their personal mobile phone into the workplace, and they can use it for like emails and Teams and everything else, but that device is completely unmanaged. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means that if that person were to potentially maybe leave the organization, they could potentially walk away with reams of corporate data. And the company, what could they do to get that data back? Well, absolutely nothing. When a device is unmanaged, all that data is also completely unmanaged. And obviously in a day of, like threats and GDPR and everything else, it's more important than ever that we do have control over devices and data, whether these are devices that are owned by the organization or whether these are devices that are owned by yourselves. So I guess there's a question. Do you really need device management? Well, yes, you do. That's the short answer. Of course you do need device management. Now, what are the risks? What if you were to not go down this route, however? Well, unfortunately, the risks are significant. The risk of unmanaged devices accessing, organizational data, it is significant. Cyber criminals can use unsecured devices to gain access to an organization's network, maybe steal sensitive information, or even launch attacks. For example, a hacker could use an unmanaged device to gain access to an employee's email account, which could then be used to gain access to the entire organization's network. Additionally, unmanaged devices, they can be lost, they can be stolen, putting any of the data that's on those devices at risk. And according to a recent study, more than 60% of businesses have experienced a data breach from an unmanaged device. Additionally, 80% of employees use a personal device for work-related activities, but then only 39% of companies actually have a functioning BYOD policy in place. That just doesn't make sense. 80% of people using personal devices, but yet only 39% of organizations actually have a BYOD policy. This means that many companies are not taking the necessary steps to protect their sensitive organizational data on these unmanaged devices. Well, luckily, this is the world that Intune was built for. Intune is a cloud-based service that provides mobile device management and mobile application management and PC management capabilities. This is going to help your entire workforce to securely access corporate resources on a wide variety of devices, whether this be iOS or Android, macOS, Windows, it doesn't matter. And pretty much any device is covered. But then whilst also managing the risk of lost or stolen corporate information. So Intune also helps ensure that devices and applications are compliant with company policies and standards. I'll talk more about that in a moment, but again, making sure that people are using devices in the way that we would want them to. But I'll explain how we can do that more in just a moment. So this is effectively enterprise mobility management with Intune. This is a tool that, again, we can use to manage pretty much any device. Like I mentioned, whether it's Windows, Android, iOS, macOS, it doesn't matter. This is one of the really great things about Microsoft solutions, with like business premium and security and management. Microsoft doesn't care what devices or operating systems you're using. This really would not be an issue. So if you have an organization where maybe you use a multitude of different devices, form factors, operating systems, this is not going to make a difference. Intune is a solution that runs across everything. So whether these are desktops, laptops, it's absolutely fine. And of course, the benefits of having Intune for device management. So, number one, enhanced security. So just having device management helps protect devices from things such as data breaches by implementing security measures like access controls, encryption, continuous monitoring. And according to recent statistics, around 90% of global IT leaders believe that increased data accessed by mobile devices carries a higher risk of a data breach. And, I kind of agree with that. But using mobile device management or MDM solutions, that can help prevent that exposure. We then have things such as compliance and policy enforcement. So this ensures that devices comply with organizational policies and regulatory requirements by automating certain policy managements for deployments or even applications. For example, if I wanted people within my organization and the devices they were using to be using, let's say, better security on their devices. Some of you will have like either iPhones or Android phones that might support biometrics, things such as Face ID on an iPhone, or maybe like a fingerprint reader on an Android phone. We could enforce those as policies. If somebody is going to use this device for work purposes, we can enforce that there are more stringent security security policies on that device, just making sure that access that and making sure people aren't using 4-digit passcodes as well. So if anyone here on this call has got a passcode on their phone which is 1234 or 0000, well, shame on you. Absolutely. I mean, we can absolutely push these much more stringent security policies, but then we can also do it for applications as well. If you don't want somebody using certain applications on their work device, maybe this is a corporate mobile phone and you don't want people using things such as, I don't know, TikTok or something, you can enforce this as a policy that certain applications wouldn't be able to be downloaded and installed on that device. So again, this is pretty, and we've actually seen this happen as well. We saw this happen with the UK government not that long ago. If anyone remembers, it was all in the news at the time. There was all that hoo-ha about all that Huawei 5G infrastructure that was going to be going across the UK, and then there was accusations that Huawei was actually using its technology to spy on British citizens. And again, I'm sure you must have seen this in the press because it was everywhere. Now, in the rise of this, the UK government decided that any government ministers would not be able to have, well, first of all, Huawei phones, forget it, and secondly, things such as TikTok. So they blocked TikTok on government ministerial devices because they were worried about the application potentially being used for spying. We're not saying whether that's true or not, but this was the reason they blocked it. And how did they do it? Well, they did it through something like this. Again, this gave the ability for the UK government to be able to dictate what applications can and cannot be used on their issued devices. From a operational efficiency perspective, device management solutions do provide a single point of management for devices. And this makes it really easy for organizations to be able to deploy and update software, configure settings, and monitor devices just from a single pane of glass. I mean, how much easier does that make things? We want to talk about technology that enhances how people use the products, but then also how it enhances the lives of the people who actually have to manage these products. Again, utilizing the Security Center and Intune, this just gives a single pane of glass view of all of your managed devices, all of the policies that are available. There are loads of policy templates, or you can even create your own custom policies. And of course, this offers a huge amount of support for remote workers, because as we mentioned before, with the rise of remote and hybrid workforces, device management is now crucial for securing management and workers that aren't necessarily bound to office environments. And this level of flexibility is absolutely crucial for today's workforce. So I want to talk about Intune and Endpoint Manager, because again, Endpoint Manager is another part of Intune. In fact, Intune is more of an umbrella term. Intune actually contains a lot of different solutions, Endpoint Manager being a specific area designed to focus on devices. And I've just got a short video which I'd like to show you just to introduce Endpoint Manager. Let me just make sure I've got my audio on. Okay, have a quick look at this.
Microsoft Endpoint Manager is Configuration Manager and Microsoft Intune, connected in a unified platform powered by an intuitive administrative experience. Endpoint Manager meets you where you are in your cloud management journey. By connecting to the cloud, you gain scale, security, and intelligence to better deploy and manage your company's devices and apps, all while delivering a better end-user experience. Today's remote workforce uses more than corporate devices for work. Bring your own device policies are popular. Zero-touch provisioning with Endpoint Manager simplifies configuration, management, and security across company-owned or BYO devices for any platform: Windows, iOS, Android, and Macs. Strong protection policies and native integration with Microsoft Zero Trust Security helps you protect your company's data where it is most vulnerable, on end user devices. The global scale, built-in security, and robust flexibility of Endpoint Manager enables you to meet the security and productivity needs of a changing workforce. If you use Microsoft 365, you already own Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Get started today. Go to Microsoft.com/Endpoint Manager.
Okay, so that is Endpoint Manager, but effectively what is this? As I mentioned, Intune is an umbrella term, and Endpoint Manager, we have these two options that sit underneath Endpoint Manager. So these are two different ways that we can actually manage the devices that are within our organization. Now, the first one is something called MDM, or Mobile Device Management. This is very similar to what we discussed before, and this would more commonly be used if this was devices that were owned by the organization. So if I own the business and I gave everyone here a company issued, say, iPhone, for example, because that is a company asset, I would want to keep full control over that device. So I would probably enroll those devices into this, which is mobile device management, because this gives me as the company full control. If the device was lost or stolen, I could erase the corporate or just wipe the device clean. If I needed to lock your device for whatever reason, not delete anything, just lock the device so even you couldn't gain access to it, I would have that ability to do so. From here, I can also, apply stricter security policies and also be able to dictate what applications you can and can't use on the device. Now, this is good for an organization who is giving out corporate owned assets, whether these are mobile devices or tablets or whatever it might be. This is good for the business because it is a corporate asset, so it needs to be fully managed, data and device. But this isn't so good if we were looking at BYOD, for example. I can't imagine there's many people on this call who would want to enroll their own personal device. And bear in mind, iPhones nowadays, they're like 1,500 quid for an iPhone. I'm pretty sure none of you on this call would want to enroll your personal device into a policy like that, where your organization now has full control over your device, the ability to erase all of your data, the ability to control what applications you can and cannot install on your own personal device. And Microsoft kind of agrees with that, for BYOD, this probably isn't the best solution. So that's why we've got this option here, which is MAM, which is Mobile Application Management. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, the difference here with MAM, Application Management, is that here it's not the device that's being managed. It's the data, it's the applications on the device. The corporate owned apps owned by the business, not the device itself. Let me just visualize for you what that would look like. So let's say that this is my personal mobile phone that I've now enrolled into MAM. Now, when we do that, that creates something called a multi-identity policy. This is just a very fancy way of saying data separation. Separation between your personal applications and data and your corporate applications and data. Now, it's worth mentioning at this point that when you enroll a personal device into something such as MAM, the organization has zero visibility over your corporate your personal applications. As far as your business is concerned, this part of the device doesn't even exist. They can't see what applications you've got. They can't look through your camera roll, nothing like that. The only thing the organization can see is the managed applications, the stuff that the company owns. So this kind of is a best of both worlds kind of scenario here. Because if I woke up one morning and I thought to myself, I don't want to work here anymore, I quit. And I phone up my boss and I say, hey, I quit, I'm not coming back. And they say, yeah, that's fine, we didn't like you anyway. They could put in a very quick call to the IT team, say, Ed's gone, get rid of his phone. And just jumping onto Endpoint Manager, again on that single pane of glass console, they can find my device, my enrolled device within MAM, and remove it from the list. When they do that, I instantly lose access to any of the managed applications and data, leaving all of my personal stuff completely fine and untouched. So again, this gives organizations, a lot of control and also a lot of flexibility. Think how much better it would be if you, just as mobile phones as an example, that as a company, you don't have to buy people mobile phones. How much money that would potentially save if people can just use their own devices, but at the same time, using their own devices in a safe and compliant manner. But what about the data on the device? Let's say, for example, I receive an email and that email contains a Word document. Now, I could save this Word document right here into my corporate OneDrive. Of course I can, because it all exists as part of these managed applications. But what do you think would happen if I then tried to save that same Word document, maybe down here, maybe into like my Google Drive or something? Do you think that would work? It wouldn't. It wouldn't work, because any data that has come through a managed application can only be saved in another managed application. Put it short, data cannot cross this border, this multi-identity policy right here. Data coming through a managed app cannot be saved anywhere else apart from in another managed app. It's not going to cross that border. So again, this just ensures that any data that is viewed on the device can only be saved and located in a portion of the device that is always managed by the company. And just in case anyone is thinking, screenshot? Could I screenshot the corporate data? Well, there are other features in M365 Business Premium, things such as information protection, which allows you to classify and label data based on its sensitivity. Some of these policies would mean that if you tried to screenshot corporate data, not only would it not work, but your mobile phone is going to turn supergrass and let whoever the document owner is know that you just tried to take a screenshot of a sensitive corporate document, and then you have to have a very uncomfortable conversation about why you just tried to do that. But this does represent a really good solution, because for many of us, having mobile phones and managed devices, this is absolutely crucial. There are loads of MDM solutions out there on the market right now. Some of them cost anywhere between like £2, £3, £5 per user per month. And whilst it might not seem like a lot of money, like maybe £3-4 for mobile device management, and it's something that everyone needs, £4, might seem like a bit of a bargain. But one of the things that I do want to address with M365 Business Premium is that cost and complexity conversation. One of the great things about M365 Business Premium is all the stuff that I'm talking to you about right now is included for free as part of your license. Everything that I'm talking about right here is absolutely free in M365 Business Premium. And all of the security products in M365 Business Premium are designed to work together. So it's not complex, it's not difficult to set up, to manage, to deploy. So the cost element is dealt with, well, because it's free as part of M365 Business Premium. The complexity element is also dealt with because all of these solutions were literally built and designed to work together. And most of you are probably already on Microsoft infrastructure anyway. So again, this stuff is going to slot in your organization nicely and be, again, super easy to manage. But what about identity as well? Intune is also a great tool for helping out with things such as identity and access management. One of the simplest things that people can do to protect themselves, well, it might come as a bit of a surprise. What do you think is always the weakest link in any organization's security landscape? Now, if you're screaming the people or users at your screen, you're absolutely right. It's people. People make mistakes. People also get to do things such as choose their own passwords, for example. In fact, does anyone want to take a guess at what still is today in 2024 one of the most used passwords in the world? It's password. How depressing is that? It's of little wonder that because of facts like this, 80% of network breaches are due to weak or stolen credentials. So again, having things as simple as, multi-factor authentication in place, this can, help with identity and access. In fact, having MFA, and again, all this is included in Business Premium, it can actually prevent 99.9% of identity-based attacks. Like I said, one of the cool things about Business Premium is that everything works together as well. Some of you might be familiar with this feature here. It's called conditional access. So conditional access is there to make sure people are meeting certain conditions before access can be granted. For example, if I was trying to sign in on one of these devices, whether it be a phone, a laptop, a desktop, doesn't matter, one of our managed devices, normally username and password would be enough to get me in to access whatever it might be. But with conditional access, we can make sure that people are meeting certain conditions before access would be granted. Things such as their location, where in the world are they signing in from? This is all going by their IP address. Are they signing in from a location that's trusted, that's known? We could even set policies and conditions that say if you're signing in from a certain geographical location, then not to give access. Or maybe your company only operates in the UK. There should be no reason for anyone signing in from anywhere outside of UK borders. So this will make sure that when people sign in, where are they signing in from, for example, as one of the conditions. And let's say, for example, one of you was working abroad. You know, it happens, you know, everyone goes on business trips every now and then. Now, obviously, if you were trying to sign in with conditional access and you were out the country, instantly the location is going to go nuts. Suddenly you are signing in from a location that we don't know. We don't know if that's you or not. We don't know if somebody in that country has just stolen your username and password and is now trying to sign in as you. So conditional access will then call on MFA, multi-factor authentication, just to get you to prove that you are who you say you are. And once MFA has been satisfied, then access can be granted. So it's incredibly clever stuff. And you know, you've probably all got remote workers within your organization. Again, questions I'd be wanting you to ask yourselves. I mean, what devices are people using? And are these devices managed? Also, when people are signing in remotely, when people are outside of the office, how can you be 100% sure that the person that is signing in is the person they claim to be? Wouldn't it be better to be a little bit more sure about every sign-in attempt? And this is exactly what conditional access is there to do. And again, it's not just location. It can also be on the device. What device is that person using? Is this a trusted device? Is this a device that that person has never used before? That could indicate suspicious behavior. Also, the condition of the device. Is this device running the latest version of Windows 11? Is it running the latest security updates? And if it's not, should we let it on the network? You know, when I used to work for Microsoft, when you used to go into the office, if your device wasn't running the latest Windows or the latest Defender update, you couldn't sign in because the potential for a device that was running an outdated version of the operating system or the security software, that could potentially mean I could introduce a threat into the organization should I connect up to the network. So again, is this something that you check out in your business? Is this something that you do? Making sure the health of the devices that are joining the network, or the devices that are at least meeting certain conditions before access is granted. And of course, device management, identity and access, it all goes hand in hand. This is all, you know, making sure that the devices and these devices accessing our network, it's making sure that all of this is met and is as secure as it possibly can be. Now, some of the additional benefits of having Intune extend further than just, you know, managing the devices. It also extends into maybe things such as the deployment or the repurposing or repositioning, reprovisioning even, of existing devices. Now, some of you may be familiar with a Microsoft product called Autopilot. That's Autopilot, not Copilot. I know there's a lot of pilot-based products in Microsoft, but this is something called Autopilot. Now, Autopilot, for those of you that are unaware, is a way that we can deploy devices. Now, for anyone who's been lucky enough, and I say lucky, to set up new devices within their organization, you know that takes a lot of time. Normally you get like 10 devices delivered, you've got to unbox them, you've got to put a bit of power into them, then you've got to get the USB stick with the corporate image, you got to plug that in, image the device, security, identity, all that sort of stuff. Then you've got user profile settings to do. Who is this device going to? And you may be looking anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes per device in terms of setup. Now, what if there was a way that we could automate that process? Well, there is, through Intune. Through Intune, you can use Autopilot. Here, we can set up devices literally before they've even been delivered to us by using the serial number of the device, aligning that serial number to users, the applications and services that they need. And then when that person turns on their device, which again is still wrapped in cellophane, the box has never been opened, they turn it on, it connects to the internet, and then it sets itself up. Corporate image, user profile settings, security, all of that stuff, all of those policies that we discuss, MFA policies, device MDM, MAM, whatever it might be, all of this would be set up remotely without anyone touching the device, because again, everything was already done. In fact, I've got a short video just to explain the process of autopilot, but have a quick look at this.
In 2019, SMBs spent $6 billion on IT, and they're looking for ways to spend that money more efficiently, like helping to make IT more productive. On the other side, 91% of employees crave modern technology solutions so they can be more productive and technologically relevant. And to make things more interesting, remote work is now commonplace, so companies need to deliver devices and support to those remote employees, wherever they are. But remote work isn't without its challenges. Maintaining device security and preventing data loss are big, because 69% of SMBs in the US have lost sensitive data in security breaches. Windows Autopilot helps companies deal with these and other common IT challenges. Users receive a new in-box device directly from the OEM or reseller partner, or a repurposed device from IT, and simply unbox it, log in, and take off. Within minutes, Autopilot automatically installs the apps and settings. IT never has to touch the device, so configuration and setup can be done from anywhere. Instead of maintaining images and handling devices, IT just sets them up in Microsoft Intune, adds any apps and settings, and chooses a setup experience for users. Partners can also register devices with Autopilot on their behalf, so users receive new in-box devices at their home, office, or even while traveling. And once employees turn on their shiny new devices, Autopilot can set them up anywhere an internet connection is available, like a hotel room. Better still, it improves employee satisfaction by requiring only a few simple steps, making their new devices ready in just minutes. That includes applying all the user, device, and app policies that IT pre-configured, like enabling BitLocker so the device is secure from the start. Windows Autopilot enables IT to deliver ready-to-go devices directly to users, frees up IT hours, and improves employee satisfaction. Get started today with Windows Autopilot.
Was that again being able to set up brand new devices, all ready to go without ever having to actually touch the device? And as you saw in that video, all of that through Windows Autopilot is all done through Intune. So again, when you have Intune, you've got the ability to use things such as Windows Autopilot. But again, it's not just for setting up new devices. It can be used for repurposing existing devices. Maybe somebody in your organization is leaving and their laptop is supposed to be going to the new starter or whoever it might be. Rather than the employee having to bring that device back to the office or whatever it might be so it can be flattened and wiped and then reset up for the new person, the employee that's leaving could literally just give their laptop to the new starter or send it to them or whatever it might be and say, by the time you turn this on tomorrow morning, turn it on at 9 a.m. and it will be ready. And that's it. They just take the laptop, they just sit with it through the night, and then in the morning they turn it on, connect it to the internet, and that device will automatically start configuring itself for that new user with all the applications, the security, user profile settings that new person would need. So it's absolutely incredible. And also just for retiring devices as well. When a device reaches the end of its life and it's time to go to the recycling center in the sky. Obviously, before it goes there, we want to make sure that all corporate data is removed from that device. Again, we can do that with Intune. We can use Intune to wipe and retire the device to OOBE, which is out of the box experience. Basically, we kind of return this to as it was when it was new. Again, just ensuring that any data on the device is gone before this device goes off for recycling or repurposing or whatever it might be. But the key thing here is how easy this is. The fact that it's all done from that single pane of glass and how much time it can save IT departments. And just as a couple of examples of how a mixture of Intune and autopilot could be used in some real world scenarios. Again, like that example I just gave, say a London-based company has just hired a new person who lives in Scotland. Laptop was sent to the person maybe just a day or so before they were due to start their new job. Once they receive it, they just turn it on, connect to the internet, and that's it. The device is set up and it's ready to go. So all of this happens with, absolutely minimal IT involvement. This person didn't have to come down from Scotland to London to get their device or anything like that. The device was shipped. When the device was shipped, there was nothing on it. The device was brand new when it was shipped. Only when that person got the device and connected it to the internet did it start downloading all of the information onto that device. But when the device was in transit, it was blank. So it was a completely fresh device. What about a situation for like securing devices? Let's say, for example, we got a CEO and he loses, or his laptop gets stolen at an airport, probably because he literally left it. Now picture, he was literally asking for trouble, just leaving it sat there like that. But hey ho, the laptop has been stolen. So he makes a quick call back to the office, letting them know the bad news that his laptop has been stolen. They can very quickly use Intune to wipe and retire that device remotely. So yeah, it's still bad, the laptop's been stolen, but at least there's no data on the device anymore. That device has been remotely wiped, ensuring that any corporate secrets or confidential information is no longer on that device. But we are still now in a situation where a CEO is now abroad and still doesn't have a laptop. So they can literally overnight, courier a laptop overnight to him. Whilst that device is in transit, they package it up, they stick it on the plane, and there it goes. It's on the plane. Whilst that device is up in the air, they took a note of the serial number and all the details from the side of the box from the device. They use those details with Intune and Windows Autopilot to remotely configure that device for the CEO. All of his information, user profile names, all the applications that he needs. By the time the package arrives where the CEO is, he unboxes it, turns it on, connects to the internet, and again, his device just repopulates with everything. He can jump back onto OneDrive and SharePoint, re-download all of his presentations and everything else. So literally within a matter of hours, somebody has got a new device that again is all set up and ready for them to go. You couldn't do that without things such as autopilot. You don't have that flexibility. Imagine that situation where, again, it had to all be backwards, where things had to be, set up and configured. There was just no way that was going to happen. So again, it's that huge amount of flexibility that Intune brings customers. And again, being able to, either use it for deprovisioning to give to a new user, or even put it out of its steady state for warranty claims or deprovisioning. You've got these options. And this is the great thing about Intune. So again, it's all about device management, but then it goes so much further with things such as when you combine it with things such as Windows Autopilot. And then when you look at it in terms of a bigger picture of, just security, identity, access, governance, all of these things, Intune is integral at all of this. And of course, one other thing I just wanted to mention whilst we talk about Business Premium, because obviously that is the product that we are focusing on today. And for those of you that are on Business Premium, fantastic, thank you. But for those of you that aren't, maybe some of you are still using Business Standard. I just want to point out, the difference between Standard and Premium. Both Standard and Premium include all of your cloud-based services and your desktop applications, but you will notice that the way that Business Premium really stands apart is all of the advanced security and device management capabilities, because again, that is what Business Premium was built for: advanced security and device management. These are all of the security features that you actually get included for free as part of Business Premium. And for the cost difference between Standard and Premium, you are getting this for an absolute bargain. All of these solutions included in Business Premium are enterprise grade solutions, the sort of things that you would find in some of the top M365 SKUs like E5, for example, but included here for free in Business Premium. And do you think you could go out and buy enterprise grade third party equivalents of all of these solutions? Well, let me answer that one for you. No, you can't. Well, you can, but for about 40 or 50 odd quid for all of those solutions. So the fact that you're getting all of this included for a fraction more than what you are paying currently in business standard, this does make this an absolute bargain. And of course, if you want to learn more, maybe you've got business premium and you want to start using more of this stuff. Maybe you want to start using Intune and things such as MFA and conditional access. Well, the team at Freestyle TS are there to help you do that. If you are on business premium and you are looking at improving your security, confidence and functionality, then again, the team at Freestyle TS can help guide you to the right license, the right solutions that are going to get you started on that road to better security and compliancy. So with that, I'm going to throw back over to Ben.
Lovely. Thank you for that, Ed. Thank you for delivering that insightful webinar. I hope everyone else found it very interesting and useful. We're not the sort of company that just tend to deliver webinars and push content out there on a product that we don't believe in or we don't use ourselves or we don't really see any sort of potential with. But we really strongly feel that for many businesses, Intune's a great tool. And I hope that that webinar gave you the opportunity to see how it would fit for your business. And I think it's really easy to see how it fits in, as they were saying, with security, BYOD, remote working, deployments. It effectively allows you to manage that device from deployment to the day it's destroyed or no longer in use. So our team have done many Intune deployments in 2024 as well. So as Ed said, we're somewhat experts on it now ourselves. So absolutely, if you have any other questions following this webinar, feel free to send out the link to the webinar on the email that we'll send to your colleagues. And if they have any questions or they want any further information, just let us know and our team can talk you through it. And finally, if there's any other solutions or technologies that you want us to deliver content on, we're more than happy to do so. It doesn't have to be on Microsoft. It can be on any manufacturer. We want to be pushing technologies and solutions to our customers that hopefully you find useful. So absolutely, just get in contact with us and let us know if there's any content that you'd like us to create for you. And if you have any questions following this, please email myself, your account manager, or have you?
We've got one. So Mike's got a very good question that's going to the Q&A. Are the MAM policies applied on a role device scope per tenant or per application? For example, if I have a second account in Outlook, do the restrictions only apply to the corporate account, no copy paste? So that's a very good question, Mike, and thank you for asking it. So on a role device, it's per tenant. So it would only affect, so for example, if you've got on your device, you've got a personal Outlook or a personal OneDrive, and it's all in the same application, it would only affect the corporate version of that app. So if you've got Outlook and in there you've got your personal and your corporate, it would only, if you left the company, it would only be the corporate one that disappeared. Same with OneDrive as well. When you go into OneDrive, you can switch between corporate accounts or personal accounts. If you left the organization, again, it would only be the managed portion that would be inaccessible, and the policies of the copying, the pasting and everything, that only applies to the corporate part. So it does separate that multi-identity policy. I know I made it very black and white in the image where I just drew a line through the middle, but those borders also exist within an application. So within Outlook, there'd be a multi-identity policy between personal and public, personal and corporate. Same for OneDrive, multi-identity policy within the applications itself. So don't worry about that. You'd still be able to do all the stuff you want with your personal stuff, but it's just the corporate things. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you for that, and thank you for asking the question, Mike. Absolutely. If anyone's got any other questions, we've still got 10 minutes left. I don't want to sort of keep you for that long, but if you've got any questions, feel free to message them through now, and whilst it's available, we can answer for you them quickly. But otherwise, like I said, just email us. We can speak to the team and we can get back to you in due course. Ed, any final points from you before we wrap up? Or
no, just in this day and age, with the amount of the growing amount of cyber attacks that we're seeing at the moment, vigilance is absolutely key. And sometimes some of the smallest gestures can have the biggest difference, even when it comes to, managing. Even an unmanaged device could potentially wind up being a point of entry for a cyber attack. And again, in this day and age, vigilance is absolutely key, and just making sure that we are secure. And it doesn't have to come at a huge cost either. Like we mentioned, everyone wants to be more secure. Everyone wants to be more compliant, but normally that comes with, increased costs and management and headaches. That doesn't have to be the case. Business premium for what you get for it is incredibly fairly priced, and the team at Freestyle TS can offer you all the support you need to be able to get up and running with this stuff and help your business, weather the storm of cyber attacks. Because I tell you, the attackers, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. They're always going to be trying to find ways to separate you from your money, your data, whatever it might be. We have to stay one step ahead of the game. And of course, even doing things such as just protecting the phone, just protecting the little things, that can make a significant difference to your security posture.
Great. Thank you for that. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you found it very useful. Hopefully we'll speak to you all soon. As I said, we'll be sending a follow-up email with the link to the webinar, so feel free to circulate that among your colleagues. Hopefully we'll be speaking to you again soon. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.